They discovered a mysterious message hidden in the Ten Commandments. What does it reveal? Few knew what truly happened that night when the tablets cracked against the jagged rocks. The air thickened with tension, electric and heavy. Whispers of secrets hid amidst the powerful thunder that roared around Mount Sinai. Darkness loomed, as if the very heavens were alive, holding their breath for the unfolding miracles. Moses, weary and trembling, held the stone tablets close. His hands shook, not just from age, but from a revelation that tingled in his bones. The voices of the Israelites echoed in his mind, lost, confused, chanting fervently for guidance. They danced like shadows, restless in their camp below, blind to the truth hidden in those engraved stones. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting deep shadows across the rocky heights. Flickering firelight illuminated faces, eyes wide with desperation. What would happen when Moses returned? Would they accept the weight of the truth, or would fear drive them to madness? The significance of the moment weighed pressing on his heart. This was not just a set of rules but a lifeline for a wandering people. With a sudden crack, one of the tablets split. A bright light surged from the fissure. A gasp echoed through the valley below. Perhaps it was just a trick of light, or something more, something profoundly divine. What did it mean? Was this merely the manifestation of God's fury, or was it a hidden message, a signal of forgiveness entwined with the law? The earth rumbled beneath Moses' feet. He stumbled, glancing back at the faces below, the mixture of awe and fear, a palpable tide washing over the camp. What secrets lay behind those ancient words? The commandments glowed faintly now, symbols of life or punishment, masking mysteries that could challenge everything they believed. He felt the weight of responsibility crushing him. Each commandment could potentially pull the community tighter or tear it apart. What anguish to interpret them correctly. Were the stones merely a reminder of past failures, or heralds of a new beginning? Would they bring unity or lead to chaos? His heart raced as he pondered the unthinkable possibility of betrayal among his people. As he descended, a question lingered heavy in the air: who were they really serving? The flickering fires cast eerie shadows that danced with uncertainty. Could the sacred laws truly bind them together, or would they sever the fragility of their unity? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As Moses made his way down the rugged terrain, the air hummed with an otherworldly energy. The splintered tablet still glowed gently in his arms, illuminating his path like a guiding star in the darkened valley. Each step felt heavier with the weight of revelation and uncertainty. The words engraved on those stones pulsed with meaning that was yet to be unveiled. What truth could he possibly impart to a people so full of fear? Arriving back at the camp, Moses found the Israelites gathered in anxious clusters, their faces a tapestry of worry and expectation. Mothers held tightly to their children, while fathers stood tall yet trembling, as if awaiting a storm. As he approached, murmurs cascaded over one another, creating an unsettling symphony of confusion, faith, and doubt. Moses. A familiar voice called from the crowd. It was Aaron, his brother, who rushed forward, eager to know the fate of their plight. What did the Lord say? Have you returned with a message of hope or a decree of judgment? The multitude turned their eyes toward Moses, requiring assurance, clarity, something, anything. Holding the tablets tighter, he felt the heartbeat of the community echo through him. Listen, Israel. He proclaimed, trying to steady his voice, yet it quivered with apprehension. The Lord has indeed given words that are both a covenant and a call to holiness, but as he spoke the ancient commandments, each one whispered secrets that seemed to clash against the humanity of his people. In this very rugged wilderness, they had tasted both despair and freedom. How could they possibly navigate the thin line between fervent devotion and brazen rebellion? Would these laws bind them in righteousness, or confine them in a cage forged of fear? Suddenly, a wild fervor erupted in the crowd. Someone shouted, "What if we cannot follow these commandments? What if we falter again?" Fear twisted like smoke in the hearts of many. It was a fear that had emerged each time they had thought they were closer to their promised destination. Moses understood the conflict, as each word carried an echo from Horeb itself, a divine voice reverberating in hollow chambers of their souls. "Fear not," he called above the rising noise. "These words are paths to reconciliation. They are not only rules but gifts, meant to lead you toward love and unity." Yet, even as he spoke, he sensed a shift within him. The possibility of betrayal gnawed at the corners of his mind. Had he led them here only for the shadows of disbelief to loom over their faith? The flickers of firelight flickered ever closer, casting unsettling shadows where unity once thrived. What if there are secrets engraved in the light? He mused within, glancing back at the fractured stone, which pulsed softly, a reminder that knowledge sometimes comes veiled in fractures. As the night deepened and the camp settled into uneasy silence, a thought lingered in Moses' heart like a barely whispered secret. Could the true purpose of the commandments be intertwined with a deeper transformation, one that would require more than just obedience? What was the nature of their covenant? Was it a rulebook for living or an invitation toward a deeper understanding of themselves and each other? In the flickering glow of the campfires under a canopy of stars, a question floated through the air, unanswered. Could the laws meant to protect and guide also ignite a profound journey within, one that would forge a deeper bond among their fractured lives in the wilderness? As the dawn's light broke over the camp, a stillness hung in the air, heavy with the weight of unresolved questions. Moses awoke from a fitful sleep, the remnants of his dreams intertwining with the flickering memories of his encounter on the mountain. The tablets lay beside him, radiant even in the soft morning glow, whispering truths and challenges that danced just beyond his grasp. He rose and walked away from the sleeping forms of his people, seeking solitude in the quiet embrace of nature. Each step led him deeper into the wilderness, where the sun pierced through the canopy of trees like fingers of light reaching for the earth. In this sacred space, he began to deliberate over the commandments, ancient directives that now felt alive, pulsating with the very essence of divine intention. To honor one another, to rest, to love, are these merely rules, or is there something of greater significance entwined within? He pondered aloud, speaking to the rustling leaves and the soft whisper of the breeze that seemed to carry an answering sigh. It felt as if the creation itself was aligned with his quest, waiting to unveil a deeper meaning. As Moses continued deeper into the wilderness, he discovered a small clearing, a sacred haven untouched by the turmoil of the encampment. In its center lay a large, flat stone, smooth and inviting. He sat down, feeling the coolness of the surface beneath him, and laid the tablets carefully in his lap. Here, surrounded by nature's quiet majesty, he contemplated further the nature of the commandments. With the early rays of sunlight cascading down, he began to recite each commandment once more. "You shall not have other gods before me." The words resonated in his heart, and he felt a flicker of understanding. The commandment was not solely about fidelity to divine authority, but a call to unity, a reminder to prioritize love above all distractions that divided their hearts. "And you shall not bear false witness." He closed his eyes, remembering the fractured trust that often permeated their community. Could the truth that he upheld serve to mend the rifts between them? Each word articulated a way towards mutual respect and authenticity, a foundation for community that transcended doubt. After hours of reflection, the sun had climbed high, and Moses felt a gentle nudge within him, as though the Holy Spirit was calling his attention back to the encampment. He gathered the tablets, his heart now ignited with a sense of purpose, and began the journey back, the weight of his burden lightened by newfound clarity. Upon entering the camp, he witnessed a scene of restlessness. The people, though still wary, were engaged in hushed conversations. A ripple of anticipation coursed through the gathering. Yet, the fear that had settled like a shroud was still present, lingering in the glances exchanged among them. Moses beckoned Aaron, who could see the change in his brother's demeanor. "What have you learned? What message do you bring?" Taking a deep breath, Moses stepped forward, clutching the glowing tablets. In that moment, he recognized the profound reality that lay before him, the potential within the commandments to weave their lives together in a tapestry of shared understanding. These words, he addressed the crowd, are a compass, not just a decree. They are an invitation for us to cultivate a community where love reigns, where truth binds us, and where rest renews our spirits. As he spoke, the faces in the crowd shifted, uncertainty giving way to a budding curiosity. Yet an unanswered question lingered among them, mirroring the one still lodged in Moses' heart. Would they embrace this call to transformation, and could these ancient laws ignite a deeper wisdom within all of them, a wisdom that could navigate the wilderness of their fears and lead them toward untold freedom? As Moses stood before the gathering, the weight of anticipation hung heavily in the air, and he could feel a nervous energy rippling through the crowd. His words, filled with passion, seemed to momentarily freeze time, allowing the murmurs of his people to quiet into pensive stillness. Yet he sensed an underlying tension, a yearning for something more, a truth that reached beyond the eloquence of his speech. Among the crowd, Miriam, with her keen eyes and thoughtful spirit, approached him. A flicker of recognition passed between them. They shared a bond forged in the crucible of their journey. "Brother," she said softly, her voice laced with urgency, "what lies beyond the commands? How do we ensure that these beautiful intentions become woven into our lives?" Moses gazed into the depths of her inquiry, understanding the profound complexity of the challenge ahead. The commandments had been revealed as a divine gift, yet he knew well the ease with which they could be dismissed, lost among the everyday struggles and fears of their people. He glanced at the tablets shining in his hands, their brilliance almost mocking the shadows of doubt lingering in their hearts. As the sun reached its zenith, casting golden rays across the camp, Moses felt a stirring of the spirit within him. "Miriam," he spoke, "perhaps we must delve deeper into these words, uncover their heart and essence. What if each commandment holds not just directives but a story, an interwoven path to divine connection?" With newfound resolve, he addressed the gathering once more, inviting them into a journey of exploration. "Let us examine these commandments not merely as laws, but as explorations of our own hearts. Can we not see ourselves within these truths? Who among us has not yearned for peace over discord? For honesty amidst deceit?" The crowd shifted, some nodding, others wrestling with the implications of his words. Yet one voice rose above the rest: "And what if we fail?" A man called out, his brow furrowed with concern. "What if our hearts stray, or the temptation of false idols pulls us away?" Moses acknowledged the fear, recognizing its weight within himself. "This is the mystery of our journey," he replied, gesturing toward the vast expanse of wilderness surrounding them. "In this space of uncertainty and growth, we will undoubtedly falter, but it is in our seeking, our yearning, that we find grace. The commandments are not shackles but anchors of hope and reminders of our capacity for transformation. They beckon us toward authenticity and compel us to support one another in moments of weakness." There was a growing sense of understanding among the people, yet unanswered questions shimmered in their eyes. Would they indeed lean into this endeavor of deeper reflection? Could they come together, not to wield the commands as stones of judgment but as bridges, crossing over waters of division? Then, a soft wind swept through the camp, lifting Moses' hair and inviting him to continue. "Let us explore each word together. Each commandment can be a mirror reflecting our inner lives, inviting us to evolve. As we do so, we may discover hidden treasuries of wisdom that transcends the mere surface of these laws." The crowd fell into silence, and amidst the pondering, there was a stirring curiosity. They gathered closer around Moses, eager to engage in this new dialogue, sharing their own narratives in the light of the commandments. Yet as the conversation unfolded, a haunting thought took root in Moses' mind: were they truly ready to unravel the mysteries of their own hearts? Were they prepared to journey into the depths of their souls where doubt lingered and fears walked hand in hand with faith? As the sun began its descent, casting long shadows through the camp, the questions echoed within him: what would unfold as they delved deeper into these ancient words of life? Would they find freedom, or would they encounter truths that drove them further apart? And in the face of uncertainty, would they seek courage, unified in their quest for understanding? As twilight descended, painting the heavens with shades of purple and gold, Moses felt the weight of the evening's discourse slowly transform into a pulsing anticipation. The people were ripe for discovery, gathered like tender shoots ready to unearth their potential from the nourishing soil of shared wisdom. "Let us begin," Moses announced, his voice steady with conviction. "The first commandment speaks of the singularity of our devotion: you shall have no other gods before me." What does this ask of us? What is the essence of our commitment? A spirit of inquiry enveloped the crowd. From the back, a woman named Keturah raised her voice, bold yet thoughtful. "Moses, what if we have already allowed other gods to influence our hearts? Can we truly strip ourselves of false idols when the world has woven them into the fabric of our lives?" Moses nodded, aware this challenge resonated with many. "Indeed, Keturah. The struggle to remain steadfast is one we all share. Yet, this very desire to seek truth amidst temptation is what the commandment invites us to confront. Reflect within: what idols do we carry? Are they powers, wealth, or perhaps the voices of doubt that tell us we are not enough? The murmurs of inner reflection began to hum through the crowd, but as Moses looked among them, shadows of apprehension lingered, weighing heavy on their collective heart. Uncertainty was a formidable foe, and he understood that the path to clarity was often strewn with the stones of fear. As the night deepened and stars began to flicker in the tapestry above, Moses led them into a moment of silence, urging them to seek the truth of the commandment within their own lives. The darkness enveloped them, creating a sacred space where they could wonder and sift through their own hearts. Suddenly, his thoughts turned to the second commandment: "You shall not make for yourself an idol in the form of anything in heaven above or on the earth below or in the waters beneath the earth." A subtle tremor traced through Moses as he sensed a deeper layer to the words spoken. What does this call for, if not to turn our gaze inward, to examine what we truly worship? He pondered aloud, though he sought answers not just for them but for himself. What do we prioritize in our days? What takes precedence over our connection with the divine? These idols can come disguised in the most mundane of expectations and desires: our ambitions, our fears, even our relationships. A soft sigh escaped from the back, mingled with a hint of resilience. "And that can be a burden to bear," a man replied, eyes glistening with vulnerability. "To truly see our own idols means standing naked before our own imperfections." "Yes," Moses agreed, a flicker of encouragement lighting his expression. "Yet in that nakedness is where we encounter grace. The commandment is an invitation to lay down our burdens and embrace the process of transformation. We are not condemned by our idols, rather, we are called to recognize them and encounter the freeing grace that comes with confession." As the discussion swirled like the leaves dancing in the night wind, a revelation began to form: an understanding that each commandment was not merely a rule, but a doorway into the self. With each exploration, a flicker of light illuminated the edges of their shadows, urging them to walk closer toward vulnerability. Moses watched as each person grappled not only with the weight of the commandments but with the yearning to rise above the limitations that constrained their souls. He felt an invitation growing clearer, an invitation not to merely comply but to engage deeply with the laws of love, community, and dependence on the divine. Amidst this burgeoning clarity, a question hung tantalizingly in the air: what would happen when they reached the third commandment? "You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain." Would they find even greater depths of intimacy and authenticity in their faith? And would they be ready to engage not only with their own reflections but with the reverberations this truth might unleash in their lives and community? The night was still, yet alive with possibilities, as Moses pondered the paths forward, unsure of where the exploration would lead. How deeply had the people tumbled into their own realities? And when would they dare to fully embrace the transformative power awaiting them in their collective journey? Moses stood, enveloped in the solemn stillness of the night, the encroaching darkness not simply a veil but a potent reminder of the mysteries awaiting revelation. The air was thick with anticipation, and the urgency of their inquiry hung like a shimmering web among the stars. The signs, the burning bush, the plagues, the parting of the sea had led them to this moment of profound reckoning, yet, the deeper meaning of the commandments beckoned them still. With a gentle nod, Moses gestured for the crowd to gather their thoughts. "We find ourselves ready to explore the third commandment: you shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain." What weight does this verse carry in our lives? From somewhere between the hesitant whispers and the fervent murmurs, a voice crackled with curiosity. Moses, how can a name hold such power? Isn't it just a word? The speaker, a young man named Eli, wrestled with the complexity of meaning, longing for clarity. Moses felt a tug at his heart. To understand the name of the Lord is to grasp the essence that encompasses all things: the Creator, the Sustainer, the one who calls us into relationship. Names hold the heartbeat of identity. When we utter the name of God, we invoke the breadth of His very being. To speak His name in the mundane or with flippancy is to diminish the depth of who He is and what He represents. The crowd fell into a silence that was both contemplative and electric, as murmurs of realization shimmered in the evening air. Moses continued, "But we must also ponder, how do we take the name of the Lord within our hearts? Do we allow His essence to define our actions and interactions? Do we carry His name as a banner of love and truth, or as a mere ornament, unexamined and lifeless?" Ketura's face reflected a quest for understanding. But what happens when our words feel empty? When our actions fail to embody His name? How do we hold ourselves to that standard when our human nature is frail? Moses took a moment to absorb her words, resonating with the pain of their shared humanity. Ah, therein lies the mystery. Grace intertwines with our failures. The commandment does not ask us to achieve perfection, but to strive for authenticity. It calls us to consider how we live out God's name in our deeds and in our relationships. Are we extensions of His love, conduits of His mercy? A gentle wind swept through the assembly, carrying a sense of possibility. Yet, beneath that budding hope, an undercurrent of doubt surged. One man standing to the side, his voice barely above a whisper, echoed a collective fear. What if we are unworthy? What if we misrepresent Him in our daily lives? Then we remember, Moses spoke softly, as if sharing a sacred secret, that the invitation to labor in love is a journey, not a destination. Every stumble carries the potential for redemption. Each moment of recognition offers us a chance to realign ourselves, to delve deeper into the relationship we are invited into with the divine. As the stars twinkled brightly overhead, illuminating their surroundings in an ethereal glow, a newfound determination began to spread among the crowd. They were being invited to sift through the layers of their souls, untouched by judgment, or refining rather than a condemnation, a challenge rather than a burden. Yet the question lingered weightily in Moses' mind as he sensed the atmosphere shifting. Were they ready to confront the duality of their existence, both the familiar pull of worldly distractions and the transformative call of the divine? The third commandment beckoned them toward honesty, perhaps demanding a reckoning far deeper than they had imagined. In this poignant stillness, the question floated like a whisper among them: how do we embody the name of the Lord in a world that often forgets its significance? As the night crept deeper, the fire of understanding flickered to life within each heart, but its final reflection remained obscured, leaving a trail of uncertainty woven into their souls. Where would their quest lead next, and how profoundly would they be shaped by what awaited them? As the cool night air mingled with the encircling camaraderie, a profound stillness settled over the assembly. Moses could see the flickering flames in their eyes, ignited by the question of the moment: how to embody the name of the Lord amid the noise of their existence. He felt the weight of their collective curiosity, a tangible force urging each individual to ponder their purpose and presence in this fragile world. "You spoke beautifully of our frailty," Moses acknowledged, turning his gaze toward Keturah. "But even in our weakness, we must seek the deeper understanding of each commandment. Let us not forget the next edict, which instructs us, 'Remember the Sabbath day, to keep it holy.' What does holiness demand from us in the rhythm of our lives?" Eli once again found courage to speak, his voice laced with both concern and wonder. "Isn't the Sabbath just a day of rest? We work so hard. What's the deeper meaning behind it?" A thoughtful pause hung in the air, and Moses nodded, knowing their lives were entwined with the daily grind of survival. "Ah, my friend, rest is indeed woven into the fabric of life, but the Sabbath extends beyond mere cessation of labor. It is a giftan invitation to draw near to the divine and to step away from the chaos that often consumes us." And what of those who cannot rest? Keturah interjected, her brow furrowed with empathy for the laborers among them. Those who toil day and night for survival? How can this commandment speak to them? Moses raised his hand in gentle understanding, acknowledging the complexity of their situation. This commandment calls us to prioritize connection over chaos, to find sacred intervals within our lives. Therein lies the mystery. The Sabbath invites us to cultivate a relationship with God and one another, to reflect upon creation, and to embrace our humanity. He surveyed the faces before him, the flickers of understanding evolving into glimmers of hope. Yet, he sensed an unspoken tension, a hesitance rooted in their daily realities, the far-reaching impact of labor, exploitation, and their inclination to overlook the sacred rhythms meant to ground them. But what if our own efforts keep us from experiencing the holiness of this day? One voice piped up, growing bolder. What if we trap ourselves in our routines, failing to see the divine in our work or moments of stillness? Moses allowed the question to linger in the night air, recognizing the honesty with which they grappled. It is here that we confront the essence of remembrance. The commandment asks not just for a day of rest, but for stillness in our hearts. It challenges us to remember our worth, our purpose, and the one who created us. When we pause, we open ourselves to the possibility of transformation. The group breathed in deeply, sensing a shared commitment growing among them. They pondered how to weave the sacred into their everyday lives and release the burdens that clouded their spirits. As Moses continued, he felt the gravity of the lesson unraveling before them, connecting each commandment like an unbroken thread. Perhaps we are called, he reflected, to reframe our understanding of work and rest, to see glimpses of God in every moment. Are we prepared to seek Him in our endeavors, even when we toil? To recognize His presence in the joy of shared meals, in the laughter of children? The Sabbath beckons us to find meaning in each sacred pause, to honor Him in all parts of our lives. As the moon glided higher in the night sky, illuminating their faces with its soft glow, Moses felt a spark of renewed understanding. Yet, as the fire crackled, a lingering mystery played upon his heart, a question that deserved exploration. Would they be willing to redefine their understanding of work and rest, to seek the divine within their daily routines, and to elevate their lives into a harmonious symphony of faith and perseverance? His mind turned, a pebble dropped into the well of reflection. How deeply can we encounter God amidst our daily labors and our cultivated moments of stillness? And might the Sabbath hold secrets waiting to be unveiled, illuminating pathways to a richer understanding of holy living? As the fire whispered embers into the night, a deeper silence enveloped the assembly, as though heaven itself paused to listen. Moses, fueled by the shared curiosity lingering in the air, raised his voice again, tempered by a profound sense of wonder. Let us consider the very essence of the Sabbath that we have begun to explore. It is more than the rhythm of rest, it is an invitation into awareness. In its sacred stillness, does the Sabbath not reveal the heart of God, a heart that yearns for connection, for restoration? Keturah, with a look of fervent contemplation, leaned closer. But how can we ensure that this day remains holy in a world that often seeks to drown out the divine with noise? Can it withstand the tumult of our lives? Moses paused, contemplating Keturah's words. The challenge lies not in the day itself but in our recognition of its importance. We must create intentional spaces, sacred moments where we actively remember and reconnect with the essence of the divine. It is here, in the act of setting aside our burdens, that we can truly experience the underlying sanctity of our existence. But what if the burdens are too heavy? Eli chimed in, vulnerability coloring his tone. For those in need, who may not even grasp this concept of holy rest while struggling to make ends meet, how does the Sabbath serve them? The question hung like a taut string in the air, and Moses could feel the heart of the assembly beating faster. Ah, therein lies the depth of the mystery we are called to unravel. The Sabbath is a sanctuary, not merely for the affluent, but for an essence of equity and grace. It calls us to share our gifts, to extend compassion, and to uplift the downtrodden. Can we truly find the sacred in sharing our provisions? Keturah asked, a glimmer of hope shining through her concern. when we are burdened ourselves? Indeed, Moses affirmed. For within our limitations, our fragility, lies the opportunity to embody the essence of the Sabbath. Sharing with one another is the heart of holy living, where we can taste the essence of God's generosity. Perhaps the commandment is urging us to recognize that our rest can be fused with our labor, leading us towards mutual healing. The flickering light danced around their faces, illuminating their thoughts and apprehensions. Each heart felt the call to respond, yet the question remained urgent: could they commit to such a sacred exchange? Yet how do we measure the impact of this shared burden? Eli pressed on, seeking clarity. How do we ensure that those who toil tirelessly for survival find rest amid their endless demands? Will our efforts be enough? Moses held their gaze, sensing an unyielding challenge laid before them. Therein lies the paradox: the measure of sharing cannot be quantified by our efforts alone, it flourishes in the depth of understanding and compassion we offer. We must cultivate relationships, seek the stories behind the faces of our community, and nurture the spirit of support. Together, we can create an environment where everyone can experience the gift of rest, even in the midst of toil. With every word, the assembly grew bolder, yet they were aware of the shadows creeping on the edges of their resolve. Would they genuinely transform their understanding of the Sabbath? Would they take steps toward creating that space of grace and active participation where all could dwell in the divine? As the night wore on and the fires gradually surrendered to the cool embrace of dawn, Moses sensed a veil of mystery still cloaking their understanding, a deeper layer of the commandment yet to unfurl. His voice dropped to a whisper: will we have the courage to not only embrace the Sabbath as a personal sanctuary but to weave it into our community's fabric, nurturing an embodiment of rest and holiness that transcends the individual? What greater truths await us within this sacred commandment, and how might they illuminate our lives? As dawn broke, casting gentle hues of gold and lavender across the horizon, Moses and the assembly felt an invigorating charge in the air. Each had captured a spark of the night's contemplations, yet there remained an uncharted territory in their discussion, an enigma wrapped in the heart of the Sabbath which beckoned for exploration. Keturah stood, her silhouette contrasting with the backdrop of awakening light. If we are to hold the Sabbath as a communal treasure, how then should we teach our children to honor it? What legacy do we pass down to ensure they carry this sacred truth forward? Moses replied thoughtfully, teaching must first flow from experience. The rhythms of our lives, the laughter shared, the meals prepared, the quiet hours spent should echo the essence of the Sabbath. The act of honoring this day must be imbued with tangible practices, so that our children can feel its embrace, not just learn its significance. Ellis' brow furrowed as he interjected, but how do we protect such traditions from the world's corruption? Will our children not be tempted by the allure of constant busyness, caught in the same struggles we face today? Moses nodded, absorbing Ellis' fears. Indeed, the world often champions relentless haste over restful presence. Yet, by creating meaningful rituals within our homes, we root our children in a sense of belonging to something greater. Our celebrations on the Sabbath, sharing stories, singing songs of praise, resting together should become anchors in their lives, defining their understanding of identity and purpose. Keturah's eyes glistened. Is it not also vital that we engage with the broader community? What if our friends and neighbors, who do not yet grasp this sacred practice, see our joy in the Sabbath and feel drawn to experience it for themselves? Precisely, Moses exclaimed, sensing their collective excitement. In our openness and hospitality, we embody the spirit of the commandment. We invite the weary to share our table, the lost to join in our songs. This is how the Sabbath expands beyond mere observancy, becomes a testament of love and connection, revealing God's grace to the unknowing. As they delved deeper, more reflections echoed around the flame. An elder from the outskirts of the group, a man named Jethro, spoke with a voice weathered by time. But what of our struggles? When the burdens of the world weigh heavily upon us during the Sabbath, how can we truly set them aside? Moses paused, acknowledging the weight of Jethro's inquiry. We must acknowledge the reality of our struggles, dear Jethro. The Sabbath does not demand the absence of sorrow but rather invites us to confront it from a place of rest. It grants us freedom to bring our burdens into the light and lay them down, sharing both our joys and aches with one another. In vulnerability, we discover healing. A hush fell over the assembly as they reflected on this profound truth. Yet doubt lingered. Could they truly share their vulnerabilities and find solace amidst the chaos of existence? Would their honesty invite others to do the same? Keturah reflected aloud, if our vision of the Sabbath encompasses such depth, how then can we account for our failures? What if, in our struggle to practice this commandment fully, we miss the mark? Moses smiled gently, sensing their apprehension. The essence of the Sabbath is not encapsulated in perfection. It is a journey, a continuous unraveling of understanding and practice. In our imperfections lies the profound truth that God thrives in our authenticity. When we stumble together, we learn empathy and grace. We foster a culture that does not judge but embraces the shared human experience. As the sun ascended higher, illuminating the assembly with its warm embrace, introspection hung heavily upon their hearts. They braced themselves for the possibility of transformation, yet the question that loomed was potent, echoing amidst their newfound revelations: will we dare to usher our children into a world where the Sabbath is not merely a day of rest, but a vibrant invitation to cultivate community and grace? Are we ready to weave our struggles into the very fabric of this sacred practice, turning our vulnerabilities into sources of strength? As dawn unfurled the sky in radiant hues, a palpable energy surged through the camp, merging the spirit of inquiry with the warmth of a nascent understanding. Moses, feeling invigorated, sensed the zeal within the assembly, an awakening collective heartbeat that echoed with the call for deeper connection. He knew they stood on the precipice of a life-altering revelation. Moses raised his arms, inviting silence as the sun's rays kissed their skin, illuminating their weary faces. "Let us continue our exploration," he urged, his tone brimming with authority and warmth. The next commandment breaks through the surface of our understanding and dives into the essence of relationships: honor your father and your mother. What wisdom does this hold for us as a people seeking unity and strength? The murmurs began, soft at first, gradually crescendoing as voices reached out for expression. Eli spoke up, his voice carrying both hesitation and resolve. "Moses, in honoring our parents, do we not also confront our own weaknesses? What if our parents do not exemplify righteousness?" The wisdom in Eli's question reverberated among them. Moses knew too well the arduous journey of reconciling past traumas and familial wounds. He nodded solemnly. Indeed, honor does not imply blind acceptance. It calls us to look beyond faults, see their humanity, and understand their journey. Even in brokenness, love can be the bridge to healing. By choosing honor, we cultivate compassion rather than resentment. Keturah chimed in, her eyes glinting with determination. And what becomes of those who bear the scars of abandonment, who have no parents to honor? How do they find a sense of belonging in that context? A hush fell over the crowd, and Moses felt the weight of her question settle deeply. "Familial bonds may extend beyond blood," he responded, his heart attuned to the raw sincerity of Keturah's words. "We honor not only those who birthed us but those who show us love, guidance, and support. We can extend our hearts to mentors, friends, and spiritual guides, weaving a tapestry of honor that uplifts us all." The resonance of collective understanding began to blossom. They could already sense the depth of this commandment, a gentle nudge compelling them closer to reconciling human connection. Yet, a flickering fear danced on the horizon. A whisper of doubt tainted the warmth of their discussion. Jethro interjected, his voice imbued with urgency. "But Moses, what if our parents were unjust? Should we not confront that injustice rather than honor it blindly?" "Confrontation born of love," Moses responded, the fire of revelation igniting within him, "is an act of honor in itself. To communicate honestly, to express our pain and seek understanding, is to embody true honor. It transforms dynamics from chains of bitterness into paths of potential healing." The conversations ebbed and flowed like a river, merging individual struggles with their collective journey. The sun climbed higher, dispersing shadows while findings began to intertwine, illuminating hearts and minds alike. An unseen metamorphosis took root, a promise of emerging from the constraints of old fears and historical grievances into a new light of empowerment. As the assembly engaged one another with renewed insight, each testament of their shared history echoed across the clearing. The spirit of honor became a nuanced understanding of both grace and responsibility as members of a community. The wisdom of honoring others now positioned them as stewards of transformation. Feeling the weight lift from their shoulders, Moses transitioned to the next commandment, invigorating the spirits of all gathered. The next step on our journey toward healing is revealed in "You shall not murder." But we should ask ourselves, is this commandment only about shedding blood through violence? What about the ways we may harm one another with our words or actions? A subdued pause filled the air, each member of the community weighing their thoughts. Keturah's voice broke through the stillness like a gentle breeze. "Moses, we often assume that physical violence alone bears the weight of this commandment. But the silent violence represented by disdain, cruelty, and unforgiveness can be just as destructive, can it not?" "Exactly," Moses affirmed, the intensity of his gaze capturing the hearts of those around him. "To follow this commandment means we must become guardians of each other's spirit. Not only do we abstain from actions that physically harm, but we must also cultivate love and nurturing words that strengthen our bonds rather than sever them." A ripple of realization cascaded through the gathering, connecting their insights with newfound passion and understanding. Each exhalation breathed life into their acknowledgement of not just the physical act, but also the emotional and spiritual ramifications of their words and attitudes. As the conversation danced around the theme of harmful speech, Ella's voice emerged. "So, it is our responsibility to speak life into one another? To grow understanding, rather than breeding division?" "Yes, indeed," Moses replied, enfolding Ella's words into the context of empathy. "The commandment challenges us to become ambassadors of peace. In a world that often cultivates discord, let us strive not to diminish life but to elevate it through our actions." A profound silence enveloped them once more, wrapping around their hearts with the weight of responsibility. The murmurs of introspection rolled through the assembly. Could they truly step into this commitment of being advocates of life? As twilight began encroaching in soft hues of gold and violet, a collective sense of purpose sparkled in the atmosphere, a yearning to change the narratives that had shaped them, a desire to implement these commandments as cornerstones to foster a deeper community. The heart of the divine seemed to pulse a message through them, bridging individual struggles with shared aspirations. The horizon blushed as Moses beckoned forth the next commandment, beckoning the group to delve deeper into territory uncharted. "You shall not commit adultery." As he spoke, the ebb and flow of the day cascaded toward a new inquiry. A layer of vulnerability lay embedded in these words. "Moses," Keturah began cautiously, her voice a mixture of curiosity and apprehension, "is this commandment solely about marital fidelity, or is there a broader lesson hidden beneath the surface?" Moses smiled gently, recognizing the depth of Keturah's inquiry. "This commandment calls for fidelity not only in marriage but fidelity within all covenants, loyalties to one another, honesty in our relationships with those we call community and comrades. Infidelity harms not just individuals, but fractures the very fabric of trust we weave." A murmur spread among the crowd, the concept resonating deeply within their shared experiences. The echoes of betrayal lingered in their minds as an unseen familiarity shaded their hearts. In both friendships broken and promises unfulfilled, Eli, emboldened by their conversation, spoke with heartfelt urgency. "What of forgiveness, Moses? If we are capable of infidelity, does that not mean we hold the power to forgive too? If we commit to honesty, can we learn to mend the wounds we inflict?" "Absolutely," Moses replied, the light of hope igniting within him. "Forgiveness should be one of the crowning jewels of our relationships. Just as we strive for fidelity in covenant, we must cultivate forgiveness, extending grace toward both ourselves and those who stumble. Through vulnerability and honesty, we can rebuild what was once shattered." As the stars began to twinkle in the twilight sky, the assembly felt a powerful shift. The burdens of past experiences began to soften, and the path toward redemption became illuminated with potential. They stood on the precipice of a deeper awakening, an acknowledgement that although infidelity in all forms weighed heavily, grace echoed louder, urging them toward a commitment to connectivity and authenticity. Moses, with a subtle smile, gestured to their next journey. Now, let us reflect upon the commandment, "You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor." Much like the fabric of honor we discussed earlier, the essence of truth binds our hearts, calling us to honesty, respect, and integrity. As Keturah seized the moment to speak, her voice rang with fiery resolve. What happens when the truth becomes slippery? When our perception colors our interpretation? Can we hold each other accountable without falling prey to becoming false witnesses to our neighbor's struggle? Again, Moses felt the heart of the community beating faster in shared understanding. Yes, Keturah, our understanding of truth can be a double-edged sword. It calls upon us to seek not just our own perspective, but the stories and viewpoints of those around us. To bear witness means we enter the sacred space of listening, cultivating an atmosphere where voices are celebrated, and diversity enriches our journey. The assembly leaned in closer, captivated by their shared commitment to recognizing the weight of truth. The commandment became less a rule and instead morphed into an exploratory invitation to engage, to understand, and to embrace the tapestry of lived experiences. As their discourse deepened, Moses felt an urgency bubbling within him. He understood their journey ventured further than spoken words. It sought to inspire a living legacy of truth-telling, one rooted in empathy, compassion, and love. Eagerly, he beckoned them toward the final commandment. The last directive speaks of desire: "You shall not covet." This final call is not simply an admonition against envy, but an invitation to cultivate gratitude for what we possess and the relationships we weave. Keturah's brow furrowed as she absorbed the wisdom. What if our wants push us to strive for better lives? Can ambition coexist with the wisdom in this commandment? Yes, our desires can ignite us toward hope and resilience, Moses replied. Yet unchecked, they can lead to despair, discontentment, and the corrosive erosion of bonds. As we navigate our aspirations, let us remember the heart of the commando: find joy in not just what we seek, but in what already exists within our grasp. The assembly resonated with the magic of the moment. Dreams tinged with gratitude blossomed within them, fostering an environment where ambition and satisfaction spun hand in hand. Accountable to one another, they began to weave a promise to honor their paths, allowing dreams to evolve without overshadowing the richness of the present. In this sacred moment, the essence of their journey crystallized into a powerful understanding. The commandments were no longer mere words etched in stone. They had come alive within the depths of their beings. Each edict spoke of connection, transformation, and a deep longing for relationship with one another. As the stars began to course across the sky, Moses felt the weight of their collective experience anchoring them. A vision unfurled: a community transformed by their commitment to love, honesty, and grace. They looked upon one another not with judgment but with compassion, ready to embrace the next chapter of their journey together. Moses took a deep breath and opened his arms wide, embracing the beauty of their growth. Let us remember these commandments not as a heavy burden but as guiding lights along our path. May we walk together with the resolve to embody love, unity, and understanding in all our relationships. With hearts united and spirits ignited, the assembly felt a profound sense of belonging. They were not simply a people in search of covenant but living testaments to faithfulness, resilience, and grace. And as the night sky enveloped them in its breathtaking grandeur, their eyes sparkled with hope, reflecting the light of divine promise, a legacy that would echo beyond time, urging generations to come to embrace the sacred journey entwined in love. In that moment, a powerful revelation unfolded. The commandments revealed were a fateful blueprint, guiding them not just away from darkness but towards the shimmering light that resided within. Together, they stood as witnesses to the transformative power of love, and with that, they committed to be the embodiment of hope for every soul who might wander again.